Hey guys, how are you? Okay, so I was not gonna go live today. I know it's bad, but it's crazy. I come back from vacation and then I get sick with COVID and then bam, I'm busy, right? So it's like one thing after another. It just does not let up. Um, but in that how this IEP thing goes, it's like, okay, Raven, yeah, you can go on vacation for 2 weeks, but then you're going to get COVID and then you're going to be overwhelmed because the IEP season starts again, right? All right, I got to get a charger for my thing. Hang on. Okay, so I got it. So I get it. It's crazy. I actually feel pretty good today. I have a little bit of that like residual cough from COVID, but I'm feeling good. I'm ready to do this today. This is going to give me a headache. This is confusing crap. I've talked about it before. It's in my course, Rock the IEP, as you guys know. And this is just a tough thing, but you guys have got to get this. You've got to get this. All right. So first I want to give you an update. You guys are going to die. And then I'm going to talk about this and try to explain it in layman's terms so that you guys can get it. All right. It took me a long time to get this stuff. And it reminded me of like math because I suck at math. And I would get really frustrated. I was like, what's a standard deviation? What is positive and negative standard deviation? Raw scores? What the heck is that? Like I just didn't get it. And the problem with this, guys, is, I want you to learn this so well that you could like talk to yourself with your eyes closed and you get it. Because school districts, unfortunately, all right, look, I'm still in my bed. I should show you guys this pillow that I got. It is badass. All right. Amazon, $45. This like cushion pillow. I will show you guys later. I like to talk like that in the sense of, you guys have asked me like, we'll get into it later. I'm losing my mind tonight. I'm exhausted. All right. So I had 2 IEPs meet today and a resolution meeting. Crazy, right? All right. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Raven Woods, and being all serious, my job is to help parents gain the knowledge and the confidence to become the CEO of their IEP meeting. Okay. So, if you are new to catching me live, post a 1 below. If you are an oldie but goodie, you guys know what to do. Post a 2 below. If you want to share this over on the group, that would be awesome. And if you are not part of the group, all right, you can stick into the search bar Autism Mama Rocks IEP group and you will be able to get into the group. I know. I have not added people to the group in a while since I've been sick and, all that kind of stuff. But I promise I'm going to get to it, okay? So, oh gosh, I have 106 people that I haven't let in yet. I promise I'm going to let you guys in, okay? So here's the deal. We're going to talk about this stuff. I want you to understand it. And the reason I want you to understand it is because schools do this thing called trickery. Okay. And trickery. What is trickery, Raven? Okay, trickery is I'm going to feed you bullshit and I hope that you believe me and we're going to keep it moving in the IEP. All right. So happened to me today. It pisses me off to no end. All right. If you're in an IEP meeting and you feel that you are being, okay, come on, let's go. Let's just keep this moving. I literally want to lose my freaking mind. And the school district needs to feel lucky that they are on the other side of the screen because it would make me lose it if I was in a physical IEP meeting. Do not ever rush me in an IEP meeting. All right. So if any of y'all people that are in IEP meetings with me are out there and listening, do not rush me in an IEP meeting. I promise you it'll take longer rushing me because I'm going to lose my shit than if you shut your mouth and just let me talk. Okay? All right. So here we go. All right. So abilities and skills. All right. There's a difference between the two. All right. So The distinction is made in these two terms, so I want you to understand that abilities are innate versus skills are developed. All right. And it's through experience, and it's something that kids do, and you want to make sure you understand those words, because in your IEP to say your child is able to do, okay, their ability allows them to do X, or to say their skill level is this. So you want to understand that, abilities are innate, all right, versus skills are developed, all right. If a child, get them not laughing at, yeah. Hey, Dorothy. Hey, Yima. How are you? Hey, Erin. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate it. Hi, Lindsay. Hi, Yana. Hi, Stephanie. Hey, Kim. How are you? When are you going to call me? I mean, we kind of got to get on a call. Are you still on vacation? Hi, Gina. How are you? All right. So here we go. Percentile. Oh, goodness. That's where people really get messed up. All right. Percentiles, y'all. Okay. That is the score that means almost nothing. All right. So a percentile rank, all right, corresponds to a percentile rank of 50. So 50 would mean that your child is average. All right. So how many percentiles are out there that are over 50 if your child's really struggling? Not many. I see a lot of usually like 26 and under. All right. And Pearson, when they do, when they develop their evaluations and that sort of thing, and under percentile ranks, it's, they'll say average, below average, all of these things, which it is. But what they're basing it off of is every child in the United States. Where does your child fall within that number? So think about that for a second. That is not where your child is, okay? Individually. All right? So academically, they fall at the 14th percentile or the 12th percentile or whatever it is, which is horrible. But Pearson, the evaluators, the creator of the most evaluations out there, will say it's average, below average, whatever. And it's not their fault. That is just the number and the percentage of children that you're kind of where your child falls in. Okay, let me explain that a little bit better. All right, so if your child's at a 14%, all right, that means your child fell within the 14 percentile rank of all children in 8th grade, okay? Or all children in 7th grade, 6th grade, 5th grade, etc. All right, so we all know that falling within the 14th percentile is not average. But it will say average because it's average amongst all of the children and where they scored. Okay? So when you see in an evaluation below average, low, above average, etc., that doesn't mean that your child is average. So when you're thinking in your head, hey, my child's really behind, they're not reading, they're not doing this isn't happening, are they making progress, etc., and then you see this evaluation that says, oh, your child's average, and you're saying to yourself, no, my child is not average right now. I want them to be, but they're not. And the school district's telling me that my child is average, low. Now the school district is ranking you. They do make mistakes, but they do state it accurately. So if it says 14%, usually I say 14% because a lot of times that's average, and it just shocks me that 14% can even be, considered anything at the average range. And but the interesting part is standard score. The average is 10, so we're gonna get there. But it will trick you. Okay, so, and a lot of times school districts will only put the standard score, which is the SS, and the percentile, and they'll leave everything else out. So you're thinking, okay, I got these two scores. You probably have no idea what they mean. And I don't mean that literally, because I didn't know what they mean, so don't feel bad. And I'm thinking, oh, my child's average. That's awesome. And then I get home and I'm thinking, this is years ago. I'm thinking to myself in my head, like, well, if my child was average, why is she in special ed? Like I just started questioning myself, and I realized there was something more to this and I had to figure it out. And it took me many, many, many years, 6.5 years to be exact, in my story of hell. But that's what made me who I am today in this whole process. Is I no longer, after 6.5 years, wanted to be put through hell and feeling like I was failing my child every last one of those years. So I decided that I was going to figure it out. And I had to do it on my own. I didn't have anybody to help me. And it was what it was. Okay? So I want you to understand percentile rank is not your child individually. It is where your child falls within millions of children in your child's grade. Okay? And that is based off and performed, at the average of 50%. So if it's 50%, that is average. If it's under 50%, it is not average. Even if you see above average, below average, whatever they say. Okay. That is not meaning that your child is individually average in that area in which they were assessed in. Okay. All right. So now let's move on. Let's talk about standard scores. Okay. Scaled and standard scores. So that's your SS. All right. They're not percentile ranks. Okay. And they are determined by where your child is, but not like a percentile, like percentile, 50%, okay, average, all right, out of 100, right? For standard score, 100 is average, all right? And the average range is defined by standard deviation, all right? So you can go above the standard or you can go below the standard, all right? And where your child falls from the average of 100, and whatever that mean is, the middle number, is how far your child is above or below. Okay? I should probably say below and then above. But I'm looking at myself in the camera. All right. And that corresponds, okay, to a standard score typically between 85 and 115. Okay? And for scaled scores, 10 is exactly average. All right? But usually average is also defined by that standard deviation. Okay? Which also scaled scores can range between 7 and 13. All right? So there's certain assessments where you may hear the teacher or the assessor say, oh, a 7 is average. Well, it's not average, but the scale can range from 7 to 13, and it depends on where your child falls. All right? And if you guys have questions, post them below. I know this is super, super confusing. Okay? And I'm going to get into this a little bit more and try not to throw you guys. Because I know people hop on and hop back off when I talk about this stuff because they're like, okay, I can't freaking follow. I can't. Okay. So when you look at standard deviation, that is a little bit more difficult to look at than if you just look at, okay, what is the standard score? Where does your child fall? All right. And is the performance greater or less than one standard deviation? All right. So let's look at this for a second. Standard deviation, and I teach this in my course, the Rock the IEP. So standard deviation is measured by, okay, a bell curve. All right, so you got this bell curve, you got your mean, and your standard deviation goes this way for negative and this way for positive. All right, so average is obviously in the middle, and your child is either one standard deviation and lower or one standard deviation and higher. But it also depends on what the mean is as to how far over or how far above your child is. So the standard deviation can actually have a standard deviation of 15. It could have 3. It could have 5. So then you'll know how far that way or how far this way that your child is. I know. That's why in my course I give you like the whole visual, the bell curve, all that kind of stuff. All right. So there's also what's called a T-score, and that average is actually 50. All right. So, and that also does the standard deviation of above and below, okay, the positive and the negative, and corresponds to a range of typically 40 to 60. Okay. So when you look at 40 to 60, 50 is that average, that middle range. But you see how these numbers change? So there's no such thing as 1 to 100. Okay, 50 is the average. The only time that is the case is with percentile. So when you're looking at 50%, 50% is only average when you're looking at a percentile of children, a bunch of children all over the United States of the same grade or the same age, depending on if you're doing grade equivalent or age equivalent. Okay? So that is the only time that you're really looking at a 50%. All right? So what you want to look at when you look at percentile is if it's under 50%, your child needs help. That's kind of what you got to put in your head. If my child's under 50%, my child needs help. The closer to 50, that's a good thing. They're not going to need as much intervention than a child that's, has a lot less, So being close to 50 is a good thing. But just know that under 50 is not average, okay? 50 and above, all right, is what you're wanting to look at. And most of our kids are not there, all right? So, which means that our kids need help. I was in a meeting today, and this goes back, and I have an update for you of my meeting, where they wouldn't give us the link, and then they ended up giving us the link, and then I had the IEP meeting on Tuesday, and I went live on Monday to tell you guys that they didn't give me the damn link, and then they finally gave me the link after I went to the Louisiana superintendent of schools for the whole damn state, and then they give me the link, and that IEP was amazing, by the way. Oh, they were so pissed at me. Oh, they were so pissed at me. But it went great. He got the things he needed. And honestly, I don't care if they're pissed at me if the child gets what they get and what they need. And that's all I cared about. All right. So, let's move on. All right. Did you guys digest that stuff? Hi, Dorothy. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, Christina. How are you? Yes, thank you for putting the link to the group on there, Erin. That's awesome. Veronica says, please need help in Chesapeake City. My son, 22 years old last year, 2020 IEP, never finished, and have the 2021, so no transitional, and no triannual, and never talked to me about transfer of rights, so now I don't know what to do. Yeah, just message me on WhatsApp, and we'll chat. Okay. But if I'm reading this right, if your son's 22 years old, they've aged out, right? So let me know. Hello, Scott Howell. Thanks for joining tonight. Oh. All right. Okay. Thanks for saying hi, guys. So yeah, if you're just joining, post a 1 below if it's your first or third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Feel free to share this if you want to. All right, so let's move forward. All right. So one of the things that I want you to look at if you have a recent evaluation is I'm looking at an evaluation so I can give you guys different. Okay. I just want to show you something that's going to explain to you. Okay. Let me mark the child's name. Hide that part. Okay. So, if you see here, all right, it has subtest, composite, and then it has a scaled score and a percentile. Well, what does that tell you? Okay, making inferences, scaled score 5. Making inferences, percentile 5. Okay, what does that mean? Supporting peers, 5, scaled score. Supporting peers, percentile, 5. This drives me nuts. I mean, this is actually an amazing evaluation, by the way. But I'm just saying, without everything that he put in it, which is like 50 million pages, this is one of my amazing evaluations. That wouldn't have made sense. And the thing is what's sad is that's what a lot of schools do, is they'll put this, graph thing, or kind of like this, and then you're like trying to figure it out. Or gonna have things like, here's a good one right here. This is actually one of my favorites. This mom knows this is my favorite. All right. I have to hide names, guys. Sorry. Even though mom said she doesn't care, I'm gonna hide it anyway. All right. So you can see, all right, here's an evaluation. All right. So you can see how, it has auditory figure ground. It tells you the percentile of 0.4. Horrible, right? Scaled score of a 2. Raw score of a 31. Raw score is actually where your child pretty much is. And so then it talks about, and I love how this doctor does gap detection and pass or fail, and then, it's interesting because if you look at the percentile and it says 0.1, that's horrible, right? And that 16 of filtered speech is not great either for a percentile, So these are numbers that, and this doctor actually explains himself in depth, but I love how he has that because he has the raw score, which is where your child is individually, the scaled score, and the percentile. All right. And taking all of that together, your child should get a composite score typically, or a sum, all right, of the raw score. All right. And I know it's difficult to understand. You're not going to get it right away. You're just not. And it sucks, but you got to just keep looking at it, keep trying to figure it out, but don't let that school system kind of brush you past. Oh, your child, did this, and this, and during the assessment they did this. I hear this all the time. And during the assessment, they some of the things were, a little hard for us to get, and but we got the scores, and the scores were this, and this, and she's average, in this, and in word sequence she did a really great job, and she was at a 15 percentile, so she's above average. I mean, these are the things that I hear school systems sit and like bullshit parents, and I'm like, what? Whoa. I mean, this one says, the child scored in the 3rd percentile, standard score of 71. All right. And this is where it drives me nuts, is parents, when you think 3rd percentile, you automatically should know that that's not good. All right. But then when you see a standard score of 71, if you're anything like I was like, oh, that's great. That's like a C, at least when I was in school it was. A 71 was a C. 80s was a B, and 90s was an A. Now it's all jacked up. 95 to this is an A, and 94 to this is something else. I mean, it's all confusing now. Right, Janet, isn't it crazy here in Virginia? So I want you guys to not pay attention when you're going through assessments with the school to the below average, all that shit. It doesn't mean anything. Nothing. All right? All that means is your child's percentile was within whatever of the whole United States of children in your child's grade or age. All right? And that your child had a 15%, 20%, 30%, or whatever. That's where they fell within every single one of that. It could be 5 million kids. All right. So we don't know that number. All right. We just know that Pearson had to come up with an average score for how everybody was scoring on that particular test. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions? Come on. I know it's like late on the East Coast here, but ask me some questions. I'm here. I will answer them. There's no such thing as a dumb question. But if you have anything specific, you're free to message me on WhatsApp and we'll talk about it. All right. So when you hear things like age equivalency or grade equivalency, obviously that means we're talking about your child's grade or we're talking about your child's age. But when a score is given, when it says AE, which is age equivalent, then that means that your child scored whatever they scored amongst children in the school, typically of their age, of what they scored. All right. So it could be 15% of the 500 kids in 4th grade. Okay. So you want to look at that, because in all honesty, stop caring about where your child falls amongst 50 freaking million other kids. All right. Always, and you don't want to look at that academic scoring, which is what that is. That's the generic of where your child falls amongst everybody else. I mean, who cares? All right. I don't know why that's something that is put into assessments. I've never had that question answered, even though I've asked. But for some reason, in America, we seem to like to compare ourselves to other people. That's the only thing I can figure out. Because when I look at it, and everybody's going to look at this differently, okay, being serious. But for me, as a mom, do I care if Sky is at a 15 percentile? I don't know. That's not where she is, but I'm just saying. At a 15 percentile in reading amongst 50 million kids? No, I could care less. What I care about is, where is Sky right now, on what grade level, in what types of books, or the main thing is, where are they right now? All right. I don't care if they're a senior in high school. I don't care. If they're on a 3rd grade level in reading or a 2nd grade level in math, that's what I want to know. My child's in 12th grade, my child is 18 years old, and my child is doing 3rd grade math and is on a 3rd grade reading level, or is on a 2nd grade reading level. That is what I want to know, because when I know that, then I got a baseline. All right, so that, my friends, is what a baseline is. Where is your child right now, today? If they took a test, where are they scoring? Where are they right now? All right. And I did this with school system, not yesterday, but the day before. Was it yesterday? I think it might have been yesterday. You probably are going to faint. Every one of you who know me is probably going to faint. I'm in love with this attorney, just kidding, in California. School district attorney. And you guys know how much I hated last year California. They were a royal pain in my butt and was a horrible nightmare state. Now, not so much. I guess maybe they're used to me now. You think that's what it was? Is I dealt with them so much last year that they're like, oh dear God, here comes Raven, So here's what happened. And I'm not one, okay, some of you may disagree, I don't really care, to boast on things like, I'm right, you're wrong, ha, 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 ha. I could care less, okay? My thing is I do a lot of research, I do a lot of studying, I do a lot of trial and error, and I've done all of that. I've screwed up and fallen on my face with my own child 50 million times. And, I think that's what got me to where I am today, along with a lot of hell and stress and turmoil and crying, and you don't even know what I've been through. But just know that's where my passion comes from, okay? But at the same time, being validated like I was yesterday was huge for me. And I'll tell you why. So I always rewrite the goals typically that a school district will provide to a parent in a draft IEP. Wrote the goals. Usually I'm always going by, okay, are the present levels accurate in accordance to the and this is for my clients who do my IEP package. I'll say, okay, is that, aligned with the evaluations that just happened? Is it aligned with the present levels? Are the present levels, including the evaluations and assessments that just happened? And I'm making sure everything is where it needs to be. All right. Right, Janet? um, and so, when I'm looking at that, I'm looking at what is the best goal for this child? Where are the needs? Where are the strengths? Is it written right in the present levels, the PLAF? And then I create goals from the present levels. All right. If the present levels aren't accurate, then I'm rewriting those damn things too. And then telling the school system to put this, and this back into the PLAF because their PLAF is not appropriate. All right. And if a PLAF isn't appropriate, it means you got an inadequate IEP. All right. And if you got an inadequate IEP and that thing goes to due process, you're definitely going to win. That's for sure. But that's not okay. At the end of the day, who cares about going to due process? I just want a good IEP. All right. I don't want to go to due process. I don't want to fight with people. School districts want to fight it out, but it's like, just give them a damn good IEP. That's all I want. All right. That's going to help them and help them be successful in the future and to set them up for success. All right. And where they learn something. Okay. So, I'm always redoing goals. I actually love redoing goals. And like I gave the goals to the teachers yesterday. They were so open. All right. This is a California district. And I was really thankful that they were open. Let me tell you why they were more than likely open. The attorney, all right, I'm not going to say her name, but she agreed with every single one of my goals except two of them she wanted to just tweak a little bit, which I actually agreed with her. And every other goal that I had, other than two, and I think there was 22 goals, that's a lot, mine were on par. She had them change theirs. But this is what I want you to know. It was eye-opening for me as well. Like, part of me was like, good. I wrote really good goals. I knew I did. But at the same time, it wasn't a boastful thing. I was writing goals for this child that were appropriate. And I was writing them in a way in which the parent can understand and that it's clear and simple. Okay? Simple in the sense of how it's written. It does not have to have all this clusterfuckness, all right? Excuse my language. And it be like, what the hell does that say? When you could literally take away 10 of those words and say the same thing in a simple sentence and make it real clear. Because how you got to look at it is if a substitute teacher comes in or somebody else comes in and they can't read that goal, what's going to happen? Your child ain't working on nothing that day. All right? So you got to make sure that they're clear and specific and measurable. All right? And what I realized that teachers are doing, because we are not taught to write goals in school. All right? So they're supposed to be taught. They're supposed to have training, but unfortunately, teachers can't just go get training. All right? The school district is supposed to provide it to them. The principals are supposed to provide it to them. And if they're not provided what they need and are given the assistance to be able to do their job, they're in this predicament. So it's important to understand this part of it. But what was eye-opening was I realized that how teachers, and these teachers were just 10 of many, and today the same thing happened. So it was like, it clicked on Monday, and then today it was like, yeah, I'm right about this. So what's happening is they're writing goals and number one, putting too much into it. and how it's being written. So it clusterfucks it. And then they are leaving the big question mark. The reason, and I asked one of them to explain to me on Monday why she wrote her goal the way she did. And she then proceeded to explain to me why she had written this goal the way she did. And the reason she had written it that way is she wanted to leave the opening of change if necessary, or to tweak it if necessary. And IEPs don't work that way. Now, is that human nature? Yeah. I mean, we want to leave something, with the ability to change, or we want to be able to have it tweaked a little bit, or whatever the case may be. Now, that doesn't mean she wrote it clear. She didn't. She agreed that she wanted to change that to what I had said. But that ability to change, that question mark, that what does that goal mean? That's where they're coming from, more than likely. And that's what I had to say. I said, well, and this is where the attorney said, yeah, absolutely. You need to take that out because you can't have the question mark in there and things have to be specific. All right. It's kind of like when teachers will put in as needed or as appropriate, is what I saw today. You can't do that. Well, who's going to determine what's appropriate? Who's going to determine when it's needed? And we were talking about an AAC device today. So are you saying the child can't speak, but you're going to give them their AAC device when you feel it's appropriate? What does that mean? So you have to watch those things that are in the IEP so that, because it could be that one damn word that can make or break a child, or make or break that goal, or make or break the fact that they are not going to master it, or they are. So it's important to make sure that the verbiage is very clear and precise, and that it is written with clarity and finality. All right. Clarity and finality is where it goes back to where I say, if you dropped your IEP in the middle of the street and a 10-year-old picked it up, they're going to understand what it means. That's how simple goals should be. I can write goals in such a simplistic form to mean something that the teacher wrote that's complicated as hell. And that's how they need to learn how to write those goals. And so I'm hoping, as I am in IEP meetings every day, and that teachers are more open. But the funny thing is a lot of teachers write me privately and say, hey, can I get a one-on-one with you, and I'll take an hour and we'll discuss goals and how to write them, because it's not something we're taught in school, and it can get complicated, especially if you have 20 kids or that you have to write IEPs for, and nobody else is helping them, which is why special ed teachers get so exhausted, and it's one of those things where you get your really good special ed teachers and you have their really bad special ed teachers. But at the end of the day, the really good ones are the ones you want to keep, and you don't want them getting exhausted, because again, when we go to college, there's no class on here's how you write an IEP. There's no class on that. All right. So, when they were open to writing the goals more simplistic, I thought that was awesome. And I like the fact that the attorney, she and I didn't go edit. She actually was validating that the goals have to be specific and measurable and simple. Not simple as in easy, but simple as in how it's written. All right. So hopefully you guys kind of understand, going back to assessments, what the percentile means, because that's what you're seeing a lot of, is that standard score and that percentile. Stop looking at the percentile as the fact that your child is above or below, because that's where it comes from, the percentile. All right, that is what says, okay, above, below, all of that kind of stuff. Let me pull this up real quick and I'll tell you. Okay. Right. So percentile ranks are provided as reference points below because they're easier for most people to understand than standard scores. All right. So I wrote, some notes on here. So, and that's so important to understand, is that's why they'll post those and they'll say, oh, here's all the percentiles. And then your child's average, your child's above average, your child's, sometimes it'll say low, average, they all say different things, but just know that percentile is not your child. Percentile is where your child's percentage is in comparison to 500 other million kids. All right? So you want to know your child's raw score, or you want to know your child's T scores are pretty good too, because the average is 50. All right. So then at least okay, if it's a T score, then if it's 50, your child's average. All right. But I think I've seen T scores on evaluations maybe 4 times, but the thing is, it's on this one. But the thing is all of these scores are supposed to be on your child's evaluation. But typically, they only put like a standard score or a percentile. Or sometimes, a lot of times last year, they didn't even put a damn score. They just put low average, average, below average, blah, blah, blah. Kind of like, the whole progress report thing. Oh, your child's doing sufficient, check mark. Oh, your child's, minimally making progress, check mark. Oh, your child's making average, progress, check mark. Okay, what does that mean? And I had a parent, this week tell me, I started asking questions, and the school district doesn't like me anymore. And they're just getting annoyed with me, and they're, not wanting to answer my calls and my questions and my emails and this, that, and the other. And, I just kind of chuckled to myself and, saying, you realize why they're doing that, right? They don't like to be questioned. How dare you question the teachers? How dare you question, really, it's a lot of times it's the, administration, not so much the teachers. A lot of times the teachers are super helpful and the administrations are the, what. But how dare you ask questions? Go ahead. Start asking a lot of questions, moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas. All right? Start asking a whole lot of questions. See what happens. They're going to love you. And you're going to be my best friend, because I'm going to love you, because I'm going to think you're awesome, because you're stepping up. All right? Don't be scared to ask those questions. If you're getting on their nerves, that means you're doing your job. You are doing an amazing job if you are getting on their nerves, okay? And what I mean by that is ask whatever you want, okay? One of my parents in the IEP meeting on Monday, she asked the teacher, do you put children in closets? Okay? She asked that question. Why did she ask that question? Do you think she just ask that question just because? No. In that state, it had happened. And she wanted to make sure that her baby was not going to be put in a closet. But this is what the teacher did. All right, not Monday, before Monday. The teacher then addresses her and says, how dare you even ask that question? I've been a teacher for 30 some years, and I have never been insulted like that before. Holy hell. Lady, this was not a personal question. This was not about you. This was about, do you do this? Because this happened in this district, and there is no such thing as a stupid question in reference to that. And if you've taught for 30 years, then you should have, okay, the ability to answer that question. And if a parent is scared that something like that could happen to their child, and you are totally offended that the parent asked you that question, then you need to get the hell out of your position. Because you got parents like me coming around, and I ask everything under the sun. And if I hurt your feelings, oh freaking well. It's not about you. It's not about your feelings. It's not about how long you've taught, because I could care less. What I care about is that you're going to teach my child. I care that you're going to do the right thing by my child. And believe me, all questions are on the table. I don't worry about hurting people's feelings. All right? I'm not about hurting people's feelings. But if what I say hurts your feelings, but it's a question about my child, So sorry. All right? And that's the thing, guys. When I teach anybody about the IEP, if you're going in person, I don't suggest that. I say stick online. But when you're in that IEP meeting, whether it's online, in person, whatever you all choose to do, again, I always advise doing it online. It keeps you safe. It actually gives you more power. And believe it or not, you have the ability to sit on your bed. You can have your paperwork all over the place, and you're just more, confident, I guess you could say, and can breathe a little bit, But by no means do you ever feel bad or worry about hurting somebody's feelings when you're talking about your child. All right. And, when you are in that IEP meeting, you better leave your emotions and all that shit outside the door or outside pushing play or whatever it is you're pushing. Join. Okay. Emotions better be left somewhere else. All right. They need to be kept out of an IEP meeting. You need to be laser focused. You need to be, you got to be a horse with blinders. All right. You cannot be thinking about, and I know how hard this is. You cannot be thinking about, all the emotional stuff that you're feeling and may have cried 5 minutes before when it comes to going through documentation, focusing, and being able to go through every single page the way I do. You have to focus. You cannot bring all that emotion into play because you will not have a good IEP. Everything will be jumbled. You won't be thinking straight. The right things won't go on paper, and they're going to have control. All right. And no, it's not about who has control, but you don't want them having control over your feelings. All right. Emotions can do all kinds of damage in an IEP meeting. All right. That is your worst enemy. Emotions are your worst enemy in an IEP meeting. And that's the worst thing for any parent to hear because we are emotional when it comes to our children. And to have to learn, I had to learn this. I think that's where, it's kind of funny because people, and I don't get offended by this at all. People say, damn, you are a hard ass. You just have, kind of like steel on the outside. Guys, I'm mush on the inside. Okay. I cry. I am very emotional. You don't even want to know how emotional I am. Okay. But I cannot do that with the type of job I have and that just be laid out on the table. Okay. So when I'm talking to you, because this is something I'm passionate about, I love what I do. So I'm super passionate about it. But what you have to understand is, generally speaking, when I'm not talking shit, I'm sleeping, and whating IEPs, to be quite honest. But seriously, when I'm not thinking IEP, I'm a very emotional person. So, and I was a very emotional when it came to all the screw ups that took place with my own daughter. But that's where that learning happened for me, and I had to wake up. And it took me 6.5 years to wake up. But I had to wake up because nothing was working. And the only person I realized that was going to change that was me. So I had to take action. And I realized, why aren't you in bed? Why aren't you in bed?
I want something.
What do you want?
I want cake.
You want cake?
Yeah.
She wants cake. What time is it? 10:19. And you want cake.
Yeah. Where's the cake?
Do you hear her?
Yeah.
It's downstairs. You need to go to bed.
Where?
We don't need cake right now.
How about on Sunday?
On Sunday. Well, the cake's going to be gone on Sunday, I can tell you that.
How about Saturday?
Saturday. Tomorrow's Friday. I don't know if it'll be gone. There's not much cake left.
On live?
I'm on live.
Have a good night. See you tomorrow morning.
All right. I love you.
How about get the phone back in 2 weeks?
You'll get your phone back in 2 weeks.
Have a good night. See you tomorrow morning.
Okay. All right. Oh my goodness. So getting back onto this and emotions. Okay. Emotions are your worst. Yeah, cake. She wants cake. And I'm like, I cannot get mad at this child. It's really bad. See, I am a mushball. All right. So see, I wasn't talking IEP. I kind of like left y'all alone. And then I'm sitting there talking about cake, and she's now going to get cake at 10:20 in the evening. Yeah, that's how I am. Okay. So, but she's funny, and I think it's because, because I have a 25-year-old and I have a 21-year-old. 21-year-old's military. He just bought a house, and my 25-year-old, she's a teacher in Northern Virginia. And, then there's Sky, and I'm like, oh my God, she just turned 16, and she's like, not my baby anymore. But she's talking a ton. I mean, this was a child that was nonverbal, and she's, making sentences, and she has, a vocabulary, a huge vocabulary now. And, it's the growth because I woke up. And so when she asks for stuff, and when she like does age appropriate stuff, which is happening a ton more now, I'm just like, yeah, you can have it. I'm like, I gotta be a parent too. I know, but it's like, she doesn't do anything bad. But like, I can't help but just like, yeah, you can have that. Yeah, you can have cake or whatever, because I'm like just so happy that has this vocabulary now, that she can come in here at 10:19 at night and say, I want something. I want cake. It's like, okay, yeah, go have the cake, but yeah, I'm mush when it comes to her, because she is something else. I mean, she's hilarious. She's fun. She's, she changed me as a person, because it's interesting how you can be selfish, or you can be, I was selfish. I was, only child for quite some time till my brother came along, and then I wanted to beat the crap out of him. But, I wanted him to go back where he came from. I didn't. We laugh about that to this day. We're 6.5 years apart. Funny, right? 6.5 years apart. Took me 6.5 years to figure out, Skylar, and getting her what she needed in the IEP. But I'll tell you, the best feeling in the world is knowing this stuff. It is the best feeling in the world. Better than cake. And really, I don't like the cake. I like the icing, so it's better than icing for me. Or here's another one for y'all. It's better than Crumbles cookies. Do you guys know Crumbles cookies? Oh my God, look at them up. It's CRUMBLE, something like that. Oh my God, the best cookies you will ever taste in your whole life. So, -15 with the same struggle story. Oh, that's awesome, Christy. Because, they're doing great now, right? I totally relate to giving in, because the wins have been huge, and damn it, cake helps us celebrate that. That's right. That's so, so, so true. Yes, totally true. Yeah, I mean, she's doing really, really good, and it's because I took action. And unfortunately, I had to get that I don't give a shit attitude. And I had to, I tell, when I teach, and I tell my parents, you got to be who you're not. If you are a passive person, when you walk into an IEP, you got to be an actor. And you have to, not actor as in not be who you are, but you can't be passive. You got to be an actor, and you're all of a sudden bold. All right. And, if you're passive, you gotta just have that self-talk and say, you know what, I'm going to be passive in an hour or two, but for this 2 hours in this IEP meeting, I'm going to be a badass, because that is what has to happen. You have to kind of compensate for a personality that is not like mine. Okay? Where I if I have my mind set to something and it needs to happen and I know it needs to happen, that's it. I don't budge. All right? I did that today. I was actually, in a meeting fighting for a little baby, 2 years old. All right. And the school district were assholes, of course. Well, I shouldn't say of course. They're not all assholes, but most of them are. And, I had to say, when we got to services, especially, I mean, there were minor things. They were great with goals, believe it or not. We changed goals. We got goals together. I rewrote the goals. They liked the goals. There were a couple things that we tweaked, but the goals were fine. Like, we actually really got along today in putting together goals. I was super happy about that. Then we get to services. But I'm telling you, all right, because I know the page isn't like my group. Group is who's in the group. Page, everybody can see it. So if you're going to be in an IEP meeting with me and you are on the school board, you're the, on the school team, your administration, your principal, whatever, I'm going to tell you right now, if I see that the services are not appropriate and individualized for that child, God help you, okay? Because that's not okay. That can be an OCR violation, all right? So OCR can be, race and discrimination and all these things, and it has to do with services and accommodations and modifications. But here's the thing. People think that, it's for what they have and then weren't given. Yes, that is true. But if they're not given it at all, and it's needed and appropriate for that child, it's the same thing. Because the child's not being given, there's discrimination there. They're being discriminated against because they have a disability, but not being given the appropriate and adequate services that serve their individual needs. So that's a refusal to provide what the idea is all about. All right? So, and then, all right, Aaron even shared this with me yesterday. All right, August 24th, 2021. OSERS came out and it says, as a result, OSERS wants, it had to do with the COVID and stuff. As a result, OSERS wants to emphasize the importance of infant and toddlers with disabilities and their families receiving equitable access to high quality early intervention services and children with disabilities receiving special education and related services in accordance with IDEA. All right, that we're not going to leave these babies and say, early intervention didn't mean anything. I mean, I even said today, hey, Chanel, yeah, go ahead, post your question. I even said today to the school district, I said, this is a 2-year-old. You're going to hammer speech 4 times a week into her. She does not talk. She is nonverbal. You are going to hammer it into her and make that early intervention count. I said to the school district today, I said, you know what? Do you know how many moms out there wish we started at 2? This mom that I worked with today, God, it's amazing that she's starting her child at 2, that she asked for help. She got the help. We got everything that her child needed in the IEP. And I wish I knew this stuff when my child was 2. So I was like, oh, hell no. No, you're not doing this. All right. You are giving this child 4 times a week speech at 30 minutes. I don't give a shit what you say. This is what's happening. And I said to them, I said, you know what? You can give it to the child, or I'm going to run with this. I'm going to run with this. Okay. And because I sent it to him before the meeting, and I said, not only am I going to run with this, but we're going to file an OCR violation, report, everything else. I said, I don't care how many violations we're going to write. We're just going to write them, and one of them will happen. And you'll do a whole ton of paperwork. Or you can give this nonverbal child speech 4 times a week at 30 minutes. It's totally up to you. And they gave her 4 times a week. That's what she got. And I said to them, though, do you think that we want 4 times a week always? If the child doesn't need it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We want that child in the classroom. We want that child learning and we want that child doing well. But like I explained to them today, and I'm going to wrap up now because for some reason, every time I say I'm not going to come on for a long time, I talk for a damn hour. So I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to wrap this up. I wish I didn't have to fight for services. But if a child needs services, they need to get the services to the maximum extent possible. Why? Because it's like I've said before, and I say this to school systems all the time. It's like riding a damn bike. It's like reading. We're all born with language. It comes, we are born with it. But if it has to do with like riding a bike or reading, we have to start from the beginning. All right. The same thing, just like you have to start by, you help your child get on the bike. You guys have heard me say this till I'm blue in the face. You help your child get on the bike, you help them steer, you help them balance, da 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 da. And then what do? You fade it out because they learn how to ride it from step one. Same thing with reading. They got to learn the alphabet. Then they got to learn the phonemes, the 44 phonemes. They got to learn phonemic awareness, the sounds and all that kind of stuff. They need to learn all that stuff before they even get to decoding and phonics and, language recognition and comprehension, vocabulary and all that shit. They got to know the beginning stuff. All right. And so I tell school districts, no, we don't want to take the kids out of class all the time, because that's the excuse they'll use now. Oh, we don't want to take the kids out of the class. We want to keep them in their classroom, and we can come and we can consult. Screw consult. If you got consult on your IEP, get that shit off. All right. If it says consult, that means they need it one time a week, and they don't want to give it to them. Okay. So what I was saying is that if a child needs services, you got to give them the services so that they can function in the classroom. Okay? Is the goal of the classroom like they're saying? Yes. But we're not going to not give them services that they need because they need to be in the classroom. They have disabilities. They've got to be taken out of the classroom to have speech, OT, whatever it is that they need to have so that they can do better and function better in the classroom. All right. So never let a school, and this happened today, and I had to message mom on WhatsApp because we talk that way when I'm on an IEP. And I said, don't let them convince you of that one. That's a bullshit move. All right. We want to keep the child in the classroom. So we want to limit how much services we give your child so we can keep them in the classroom. Shut up. That is not true. All right? Stop telling parents that shit. All right? It's not true, parents. Okay? Your child needs to go get speech individually if they can't talk, or they're not going to be able to socialize in the classroom. Your child needs to go get OT for sensory issues, for writing issues, whatever the case may be. Why? So they can function better in the classroom. Do you see how stupid the other one sounds? All right? So don't ever be downplayed when it comes to services. A child needs services for a specific reason. Once they're able to do that, then they can take that and do that in the classroom and function better. Okay? Okay. I'm done. Okay. Anybody have questions? Oh my gosh. I get off lives, guys, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm crazy. Sometimes I'll listen to them again. Most of the time, I never listen to them at all because I'm like, oh my God, I'm crazy. But it makes me so mad. I'm like, quit telling parents that, you don't want to take the child out of the classroom and you want to be careful of that. And you don't want to give them, this speech therapist, I wanted to strangle her today because she literally said, oh, well, I don't want to take her out of the classroom. So, no, it was the OT. Oh, I can just, go in and talk with the teacher, help her in the classroom and this, and this. Here's the thing with that. Number one, you ain't talking to the teacher. Save it. Just say, I'm going to go ask the teacher how they did that weekend, what they did. I mean, it just sounds stupid. I mean, just know that consultation is a crock of shit. Okay? If they say that, that means we don't have time for your child. So we're going to put consultation in there because you don't know if we go talk to the teacher or not, but we might not. I don't know. And teachers, if you really do go talk, or OTs in speech and whatever, and you really do go talk to the teachers, you got to understand our position. We don't know if you do that. So we don't trust that. All right, I sure don't. I mean, I can't speak for other people, but I don't trust that. So, if you're going to give my child speech or OT and whatever else, you better take some really good data to get past me. All right. I mean, that data better be so damn good that I should be able to see why there's progress or where there isn't progress. All right. And that's what everybody should request and require. All right. And if that teacher does not do progress, or that therapist does not do progress in the way in which you need to see it, message me. Okay. Because it's how you explain it. And tomorrow, all right, when I have time, no, I'm just kidding. Tomorrow, when I go live, I am going to talk to you guys about something that's another important subject. I mean, God, how do I come up with all these important subjects? No, I'm just kidding. So I have a question. Do you already have a video on data collection and how to tell an appropriate method to collect and it show progress? If not, can you do one? That's actually what I was going to talk to you about tomorrow. So yes, I have this genius way in which I tell teachers on how to do trials, opportunities, or times, all a matter of semantics. So when I do goals, look, I'm talking over an hour now. So when I do goals, and I'll just sum this up really quick. It's like 8 out of 10 trials or 9 out of 10 trials. They got 2 choices. All right. So I'll leave it up to the school, but they got 2. That's it. 2 choices. 80% or higher is what is looked at as mastery. Anything lower is not mastery. So they got 80 or 90 or 100. They got 3 choices, I guess. I've never done 100. I've always done 80% or 90%. So it's 8 out of 10 trials at 80% accuracy, or 9 out of 10 trials at 90% accuracy. And then follow that as measured by report data collection, if it's something they write, and written work. So it's the goal, the measurement, if you will. And then what I will teach you guys tomorrow is how you need to explain to the teacher how they need to do the trials in which to take data. All right? Because for some reason, they think they're just trialing it and trialing it and trialing it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, when is the child being taught? Since you're doing all these trials and have no data to show me. Because I'm not me, but in the documents that I get from clients, and they're giving me these progress reports, and I'm like, well, where the hell is the data? Well, we didn't get data. Well, why didn't you ask for it? Well, I did ask for it, but they didn't have it, and they didn't give it to me. What did you say, Veronica? Also, like on the comment section of the progress notes could give us an idea to why the goal what isn't being mastered, right? In progress reports, they're so stupid. I mean, in all honesty, progress reports are dumb. Because I'll tell you why they're dumb. Because all it is the goal rewritten, and then, like, I don't know, 5 to 7 words from the teacher. I don't know what that does for y'all, but that doesn't tell me anything. I just think it's dumb, So I would rather see data. I already know the goal. I already have the IEP. I don't need you to tell me the goal. I need you to show me the data. Show me what you've been doing. All right? And that's what I tell school districts. If you can't tell me or not tell me, you can't show me what you're doing, then we got a problem. Because, a lot of schools want to put, teacher observation and this. Oh, no. It is going to be data, and you're going to do trials every 2 weeks if it's a 9-week period. And then I'm going to know what that data is. And so I tell them exactly, Veronica, exactly how I want them to do the trials. I tell them exactly how I want them to take the data. And I tell them exactly what it is I want to see. Because if they're going to teach my child X goal, then they sure as hell better be able to show me what was done. That's it. All right? Because I'm not taking your thought process on it. I don't want to hear things in IEPs. I think this, I'm pretty sure that it appears this. No. They may, oh, that's another one that drives me nuts. Your child may, your child may learn, your child may improve. Oh, no. You change that may to will. Your child will do this. Okay? The teacher will provide you data. All right? No, may. No, may. I don't like may. May is no. Will is good. All right, guys. I will talk to you later. Post any questions that you have below. Yeah, May. Screw May. I'm sorry if your name is May. I don't mean it like that. But no, May. May is bad. My son just started junior high this year. I asked if the class on his schedule. I asked if the classes on his schedule were classes he was supposed to be in. I was told yes. He had a meltdown today and ended up in the office. Long story short, I speak to the school psychologist, and all of a sudden he has a totally different schedule because the first one was not for him. Had he not had this meltdown today, he'd be stuck suffering from anxiety and crying all the time. He's only been in school 4 days. Well, Chris, I'm glad you talked to the psychologist. I don't know what you said to this psychologist, but obviously you got it done. Good for you. Go back to that psychologist for me. Shit, don't go to the psychologist. Good damn teacher. All right? Because typically psychologists don't create the schedule. Unless this psychologist did, but they're not the ones who typically create the schedule. But I'm glad she was a problem solver. But you still don't want to not ask questions. All right. So there's a tip there. That's a tip, Aaron. We need to post that one. All right. Just because if there's a problem and you go to, a psychologist, a principal, whomever, and they solve the problem, that is a win. But that does not mean you do not ask why it happened in the first place. All right? So what I mean by that is, why did he have the wrong schedule? Who made that schedule? Why wasn't it caught? Why did my son have to have anxiety, crying, etc., for me, the parent, to know that there was a problem? Why did the school not catch it? That's what I want to know. All right. So I'm glad they solved it. I think it's great they solved it. That's a win. But don't not ask the right questions, because don't not think for 1 second that it won't happen again, because it will. All right. So ask the right questions. Make sure you ask why, how, who, when, what, where, and you cover all your T's and dot your I's. So yes, you want it resolved. Cool, done. Chris did an amazing job, guys. But don't not ask those questions. Find out what happened. Find out why it had to happen. Find out how it can be eliminated from happening again. I sent a copy of his IEP ahead of time. Good for you. Christy says that LSSP may be doubling as the case manager. Yeah. Funny. Oh, one more thing, and then I gotta go because my husband's gonna kill me. He's like texting me saying, "Can I come to bed now?" And I know I shouldn't be in bed. I should be in my office, but I get so comfortable at night, and I'm like, screw it. I don't care. I can talk right on my bed. And so now he's downstairs, and he can't come up here because I'm talking on my bed. Oh, gosh. Okay, so I'll talk to you guys soon. Was I going to say one more thing? I think I was. I don't remember now. Yeah. I talked too much tonight. All right, guys. Have a wonderful evening. Was I going to say something? I don't even remember now. Remind me tomorrow. All right. But yes, I will, for whoever it was who had asked me, yes, I am going to talk about how to do trials, if that was your specific question. I don't remember what I was going to say, Aaron. No clue. But I want you guys to take what you heard today, and if you have questions, post them below. Message me on WhatsApp. If you need something, I'm pretty booked, but I will get you on the books for October, which is not too far away. Okay, and really, I would say the end of September, beginning October. Okay, so message me. I will get you on the books. I will get things going. All right, I will get the IEP scheduled, but it would, the end of October is what I'm looking at right now. And this year has took off with a sprint, that is for sure. Stephanie says, yes, I need this in my life. They just give the report and told me they didn't know I wanted the data. Of course they said that. Of course. Bill says, your husband can't sleep and Sky can't get cake. It's horrible. I know. I'm just like, I'm just so horrible. I know. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm going to let you guys go. Have a wonderful evening. Again, if you have any questions, message me. We can set up a discovery call and go from there. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful evening.